Welcome back, everyone. It's the Adoptee Apostate, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today because today I'm going to be kind of going over my adoption story, the unfiltered version of my story, one that rarely anyone hears just because of how my parents have presented my story. So I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's get started. So in 1992, I was born in Shanghai, China. Where I, per my records, was abandoned about a month old in a park where workers found me. They took me to the police station. They were able to determine that this kid looks about a month old. It's October, September birthday. Great. Now let's put her in the orphanage. And so I was sent to the Shanghai Children Welfare Institute, and I was there for the first 3 years of my life. A lot of people will ask me if I remember any of that time. I don't, but I have records of what my parents tell me. But again, this is not their story, this is my story. So my parents came to China for my dad's work around 1994, 1996, I apologize. So my mom had time to volunteer at the orphanage that I was at. So when she came, she definitely saw a lot of kids with physical ailments, mental ailments. But when she saw me, in my term, she saw that I was the least fucked up kid out of them all and decided that she wanted to adopt me and let my dad also feel the same way. Fun disclosure though that I forgot to tell you all is that I was adopted by white American Mormons. And so in 1996, at the age of almost 4, I was adopted and I moved straight to America. Sorry about that, my dog had to join. This is Kimchi. You'll probably be seeing him a lot. Anyway, I moved to America, and first place I lived was in Massachusetts. I lived there for 2 years before I moved to Indiana for 9 years. During that time, at the age of 8, I was baptized into the Mormon Church. We're going to talk a lot about Mormonism in future videos just because you cannot just talk about Mormonism in one video. So stay tuned for that. But that's just me making the decision that I wanted to join the Mormon Church and, get baptized. At the age of 9, one of the most life-altering events happened in my life. At the age of 9, I was sexually assaulted by a close family member. The way that this was handled was that nothing really happened. So my parents asked me if I wanted therapy. I, being a 9-year-old, just didn't understand what happened. And in their mind, that meant I didn't need the help. This is something I definitely want to talk about as well in my channel because it's so important, I think, especially as an adoptee, to discuss the safety and security of someone in that circumstance and to be put into a family where you were expecting to be secure and something that I did not get. This also, of course, impacted my mental health, which is another huge topic that throughout my life is repeatedly impacted because it just adds to the PTSD and other struggles that I've had. And then to top it all off, I came to the realization that I liked girls more than just as friends. And that was a big no-no, being Mormon. So now I'm a Chinese adoptee going through all this, I guess, emotions and then having feelings for girls. I didn't know what was going on in my life. And the hardest part of it all was I wasn't getting the support for it either. And so having to struggle with that and then moving to a whole different country when I was in high school was another just impact on my life because that was also where I started to interact with our Chinese people in the ward that I was living in. They were Chinese members and my family wanted me to interact with them. And one thing that also I want to talk about too is just the lack of understanding I had about being Chinese and the culture and the heritage and what it meant to be Chinese. My parents, again, felt like I didn't ask about it, so therefore they didn't need to share much of the traditions. Sometimes a calligraphy class for my dad or a cooking class or something, but nothing that really made me understand what it meant to be Chinese. I got a lot of negative, I think, rhetoric about what it meant to be Chinese, and so why would I want to be? So having this interaction with Chinese people was just so terrifying for me. And again, just who was I? And being a teenager, that definitely had that extra layer, to the point where I didn't know if I believed in the Mormon church. I didn't know if how I was going to live my life being gay and dealing with that. And then of course, why was I feeling all these feelings about not belonging? And it came to the point that in high school, I chose to tell my parents that I needed help. And it was really a life or death decision. And so regrettably, they gave me help. And so at the end of my high school year, I apologize. So I actually moved from the United States to Paris, France for my high school years. My dad's company's headquarters were in Paris, so we got to move there. But again, I was mentally deteriorating while I was there. And so by the end of my senior year of high school, my parents reluctantly got me the help I needed by sending me back to the United States to get the help I need, in which I realized how much I was faking so much of my emotions, the ways I was feeling, coming to the terms of what does it mean to be a victim and to be a survivor of sexual assault and of other traumas, and I think just the anxieties and depressions I was feeling. And to get that help was something that definitely motivated me to, I think, move forward with that. And with almost 10 plus years of therapy, I still look for it, and I still find ways to get help for that. And definitely something, again, like I wanted to make sure to reiterate in this channel is the importance of mental health. And because it comes up again, because even in all this, and even all the idea that I came to almost the point that I wanted to leave the church, I found myself back in it again, because being an adoptee, you still want to belong, and you still want your parents to be happy. And the one thing that I feel like my parents were so happy about was being Mormon, and so I went back to that rhetoric. And before I knew it, I got called on a mission. So at the age of 21, I accepted a mission to go to British Columbia. As I said before, I was not connected to my culture. So being thrown into speaking Chinese to people that I did not feel connected to was a disaster. And in a few months of my mission, I almost ended my life because I just couldn't take it, which is a no-no, of course, in the church. But yeah, so of course, I'm still trying to please, the church, my family. And so I'm trying to be good while also trying to get a taste of what it's like to be outside of the church. So I'm kind of doing both, back and forth. But at the end of the day, I chose the church. I chose my family, to the point that I was engaged, actually, to a man. And it was to the point where we were close to, talking to our leaders about, when to go get married. And I just came to this realization that I'm so gay. Like, what am I doing? And so I called off the wedding. I ended it, and I just went right into dating women. And I was like, great. But I still had the church connected to me. And so even to the point with my current partner, I was still a member when I was dating her. And in my mind, I didn't know how to get out of it. I just knew that I wanted to be openly gay, and I wanted to be happy, but I also wanted to still have the community of the Mormons in my life. And a lot had to change, for myself, for about who I was and how that just wasn't healthy. And so in 2021, I finally put in my papers, and I said bye, and I became an ex-Mormon, which is another fun thing I get to talk about and hopefully share with you all about that journey. And of course, from there, deconstructing myself. My partner is really amazing about kind of understanding that part of my life, since it was such a huge chunk to help me deconstruct and continuing to teach me things that I never knew about our church. And then also learning more about what it meant to be Chinese and being friends with adoptees. I had never been friends with any adoptees because I just grew up in this white culture that I didn't know that there were others I could talk to. And so by the time I moved from grad school to where I'm living now, I started making friends with adoptees and hearing their stories, and it just made me feel like I wasn't alone. And it's like, where was all this? And so just that deconstruction is beautiful. But then also realizing this is now my chance to know what it means to be Chinese and to indulge in the culture and the traditions. And then part of that, one of the biggest things that I'm really excited to talk about too is it gave me the desire and the push to find my birth family. And that's kind of what I'm really excited about in this whole quest. As I share my experience and I share these different topics, is that I can also get one step closer to finding my family. And so hopefully next week I'm going to be able to share my mother's side of the story and kind of how it's so much different than, of course, what you heard today. And again, I'm hoping that as I continue to talk with you guys and share the experiences, that you guys share your experiences as well, because I think it's so great when we are able to share those feelings and heal together. So thanks so much for listening to me today. I know it was a long video today, but I really appreciate you for sticking through it. Thanks. Just for me? Yeah. On top. Okay. Would you like to be part of my storytelling? No, thanks. Okay. Yeah. You want me for part of it? Just like Kendall has her pets part of her story. Hello. So in 1994, my what? Why do you think it's 1994? Fuck. 1996. My family